Practice 15. Dreaming the evolving sexual energy. 1. The dreaming intent is to see the evolutionary process of your sexual energies. Set up this intent as your task. Each night upon retiring, repeat the task to yourself over and over again, either mentally or with spoken words as you enter sleep. 2. During dreaming, intend nothing but the view of your own sexual energies, as though you were trying to see the formation of a butterfly within a translucent chrysalis. Disturb nothing. 3. The view will be different for each individual. Once I saw my own energy as a long series of rounded humps, which at first appeared to be an endless expanse of ancient green hills. Later, when they moved, I realized the energy to be more like the rippling body of a massive water serpent. On another occasion, my sexual energy rose, greenish golden and phoenix-like, from a pool of burning embers. 4. This task speaks directly to the energy body, and so in that sense, it is not a difficult intent to set up. However, it does require dreaming energy, and without a sufficient quantity in reserve, it cannot easily be accomplished. 5. The best avenues for storing dreaming energy are all of the fire breath practices, drawing and releasing energy in nature, thorough recapitulation and energy retrieval, and the wise conservation of sexual energies. Chapter 16. The Phallic Female. In the mid-morning, after bathing and dressing, I found Doña Celestina waiting for me on the patio, holding a cup of hot chocolate. Her mood was both enthusiastic and severe as she handed me the steaming mug and motioned for me to follow her into the altar room. The Nahual Juan has asked us to accelerate our pace with you, based on what he saw of your maneuvers in dreaming last night, she said as we walked through the passageway. Today our topic will be phallic energy. We will look at its presence in both males and females. I eagerly anticipated the discussion. Upon entering her workroom, I found that she had again pulled the curtains back, allowing the sunlight to illuminate every well-dusted surface. The room veritably glowed with the warmth of a morning light. The furniture seemed to be curiously alive and humming, although I could not account for the perception. "You're right, all energy is alive," she noted, as if sensing my thoughts. Her altar table was cleared of implements, with the exception of a very long, clear crystal wand, shimmering as it was touched by a ray of light. I was drawn to the crystal, noticing that the surface was covered by naturally occurring geometric designs, thinly etched by its formation into the hardness of its luminous clarity. Its length was greater than that of my hand, and its diameter approximately as big around as my second finger. The Nahual found that for you in the Kofa Mountains, northeast of Yuma, Doña Celestina told me, urging me with her eyes to take an even closer look. "This is mine?" I asked with astonishment, transfixed by the radiant crystal. "Yes, I have a seat at the table, Merlina. You see," she said as she seated herself and pointed at the length of crystal, "this is the phallic energy within the central internal energy column. Actually, there are 3 internal columns within the body that carry energy. The one in the back is masculine, the column in the front is feminine, and the central column is balanced. It is both male and female. Well, a hermaphrodite." I pulled my seat closer. "Not everyone has one of these inside their bodies. Naturally, all men think they do," she laughed. "But many do not, and many women no longer have this energy within them. The base of the crystalline column starts at the root of the genitals. It remains semi-erect all of the time, and when aroused, it can rise above the height of the head. Questions?" Yes. How is it lost? Or rather, why is it given to some and not to others? Can this energy be gained or reclaimed? And what arouses the energy? What constitutes its arousal? I was keen with interest. Those are very good questions, she said approvingly, nodding her head. First, for a child to be born with this energy in the body, both its mother and father must have had it, since the central column is a balance of masculine and feminine. Also, the parents must have been powerful in order to provide the necessary force. If the woman lent her phallic energy to the man, if she denied herself and allowed her energy to be brutalized, then she would not have been able to make the necessary contribution at conception, which must, by the way, be accompanied by a powerful orgasm. Without the dynamic of an orgasm, the conception would lack force. The male partner, on the other hand, must have received the energy from both his mother and father. If his mother was lacking, or if his father's mother was lacking, and so on, he would not inherit it. It really does begin and end with the female. The female and male infants must inherit from energetically complete parents. That is the only way to be born complete. Again, I say that if the mother or the father have lost the balanced phallic energy on either side of their family, the offspring will not be born with a full dose. This can go back for generations. In order to regain or reclaim the energy, as you put it, one must retrace the steps and recapitulate the memory of one's conception and the parents' and grandparents' contributions. In doing this recapitulation, naturally, one must be in an isolated place for a very long time, away from all sensory stimuli, and be in a mode of pure, powerful, and far-reaching introspection. One will sense the vacuity, the giveaway, if you will, as a hollow, flaccid feeling within one's energetic makeup, while reflecting upon the individual who initiated the hereditary depletion. That is where one seeks to effect change, beginning there and then retracing forward again in time. One must stalk the responsible party or parties. If they are dead, that means journeying into other realms where vestiges of their energy may still remain. There, one may seek to undo what was done and rightfully claim the energy one is able to retrieve. By virtue of being heir to the energy, one will be naturally imbued after taking the corrective measures. The challenge may come in the form of a quest. For example, by dreaming awake, as you know, one may open gateways into other realms and enter with the body intact in order to do battle. I say as you know, because you have done this with Juan and Chan on many necessary occasions. You actually stepped across a lake of energy into another realm on one occasion, and could have remained there had you chosen to do so. Your battle, however, was elsewhere. The experience to which she referred was the subject of a chapter in my first book. It was a battle of life and death for me. She was correct. I had, in fact, on many occasions, walked across a bridge into other realms, dreaming awake, opening a vortex, separating a veil of energy, if you will, using the practice. Don Juan maintained that this practice entails entering realms usually reserved for the death and after-death states. As such, it has to be regarded seriously by shamans, sorcerers, and healers, since it produces a little death for the practitioner. I could easily envision the battles of power, life, and death that would ensue. Don Juan had often told me that one only enters these realms in order to look for that which has been lost, be it power, health, or clarity of purpose and vision. He said that great temptation and illusion lie within these realms, and that many a practitioner has become too heavy laden to leave, having lost all sense of sobriety. You can see, Doña Celestina went on in a measured tone, that due to the daunting task of the energy's retrieval, most people just won't bother. Not being prepared to make the journey, perhaps they are wise. However, the energy is necessary. A healer like Juan, perhaps, can go in and undertake part of the battle for an individual in life or death circumstances. But remember that, ultimately, the one who does the work receives the largest blessing. Assuming that the energy is in place within the body, this opens up all of the possibilities in the true intent of creation itself. And it is this creative principle which, when understood or experienced, will arouse and awaken the energy. When aroused, it arises like a crystalline shaft through the central column and reaches untold heights. The shaft of light hums. It sings. It knows. It resonates with purity, pure truth, pure love, pure beauty, strength, and wisdom. And it tempers itself with work and humility. Only someone who is in possession of this internal force will move on to the most advanced revelations on the path. Many of these involve death and after-death transformations. This is where the Nawal wants us to take you. He will leave very soon, you see, and he wants us to prepare you because he is going to take you part of the way. She picked up the crystal and handed it to me. Placing it between my palms, I could feel a vibration within it. Doña Celestina rose and went to one of her cabinets. After searching briefly, she brought out a small tubular chime. Asking me to hold the crystal shaft up to my ear, she struck the chime. The vibration registered within the crystal, which resonated sympathetically at a softer, lower pitch. The tone was beautiful and long-lived. I was quite stilled by it. Yet I had burning questions. I'm very concerned by what you have just told me of Don Juan's impending departure, Doña Celestina, I said, taking the opportunity to voice my feelings. I suspect, based upon what you have both been telling me, that you are referring to his imminent departure from being human, that he is preparing somehow to leave this world as we know it. As some know it, she replied, but not as you and I will know it, and not as Juan knows it. You are right, you needn't worry. We are going to prepare you thoroughly. He will not leave the world the way most do, not the way Carlo Castillo is going to leave, for example, and he will not go where most disintegrate. That is what he is going to prepare you for. She shocked me by bringing up Carlo Castillo's impending death from cancer. I could tell by having seen him that there was no way he was going to beat it. There had always been a bit of bad blood between Carlo and Doña Celestina, and yet what I heard from her was not vengeance. It was just the simple voice of truth. I surmised that most who knew Carlo, including Carlo himself, were totally unprepared for his death, which was inevitable. That was not the case for Doña Celestina. She, like I, saw the situation clearly and refused not to call a spade a spade. Sensing my reflections, she moved closer to me and looked me in the eyes, nodding gently. The old Nawal is going to walk out of this world, Doña Celestina told me plainly, and that is all that she would say about it for the moment. Practice 16. Dreaming Awake. 1. This practice is an application of dream bridging, yet it is much more expansive. Rather than selecting an item or a person, or even an ordinary place as the focus of your intent in dreaming, and the bridge into the waking realm, select an opening into awakened dreaming as the object of intent. 2. For example, you dream that you enter your garden at night by the light of the moon. You awaken fully within the dream to realize that you are actually present there as your energy double. Then you add the next touch. You dream that anytime you enter your garden at night with such a moonlight, you will be able to access your double energy. This is adding strategy. You dream that on any such occasion, when you are present in that garden, it will be as your energy double, just as it is now. 3. This opens some of the possibilities of bringing the double fully into the waking world through a specially designed gateway, your garden in the moonlight. Once a gateway is bridged into the waking world, it will remain until it has served its intended purpose. This purpose is selected by power itself, and not by the petty designs of the ego. A gateway is different from a bridge in that a gateway is an opening, while a bridge is merely a means to cross back and forth. 4. It is through such a dreamed and bridged gateway that one may later travel into other realms, or forward or backward in time, with the physical body intact. Think of such a gateway as a wormhole in the fabric of the dream of space and time, for that is its true nature. Think of a bridge as a foundation you lay in order to build a gateway. Chapter 17. Life Force Energy Dance. I left Doña Celestina's altar room later in the day in order to have lunch, which Chencha informed us could be served whenever we wished. As I walked through the dark passage and reached the archways, I found Juan dancing around the patio, completely oblivious to any potential audience. The music playing was lively, and his movements swept to and fro in the most curious manner I had ever seen. I paused for a moment to take him in. He smiled at me, now aware of my presence, and then returned his concentration to the dance. Hopping about, gesticulating here and there, his movements were at times wildly sharp, and then suddenly graceful, attaining the smoothness of a feather's fall. "Looks like fun," I said, grinning, not knowing what to make of him. When the song was over, he walked a short distance to turn off the new portable radio cassette player I had purchased in San Luis, and motioned for me to join him on the patio. "This is quite a contraption," he commented with approval. "It produces a lot of noise for its small size." "What were you up to?" I teased. "What kind of dancing was that?" He grinned. "Oh, that wasn't dancing, not really," he said, raising his arched brows. "That was today's conversation with energy." "Really?" I played along. "Is that what you call what you were doing?" Chan laughed. "Want to try it?" He invited me. That caught me rather off guard. "I suppose so," I replied. "Just exactly how do I do it?" "Well," he said with a smirk, "let's talk to Serpent. Go back to the energy of dreaming Serpent. Just bridge that intent right here onto this patio, Merlina. Let that energy move your physical body, and energy will become your teacher. That is as it should be. People come and go, but energy endures, never created or destroyed. Energy simply is, yet it changes form. Try it." His eyes invited me to accept his proposition and attempt the task. Surprisingly, it was not at all difficult to shift my awareness into the dream of Serpent, which I had experienced with Don Juan in the canyon days before. The golden serpent energy was already vibrantly present and awakened within me. All I had to do was silence my mind and intend the awareness. Chan sensed this readily. "Shifting into dreaming energy is becoming easier for you. Now roll your eyes up and back into your head. He guided me. Try to look inside of your head at the single point between your eyebrows. Chan touched the corresponding spot on my forehead with his index finger. The moment he did so, I heard a humming. It was exactly the same tone I had experienced the night before, dreaming my sexual energies under Doña Celestina's guidance. I focused my inner gaze upon the precise spot. Allow the energy to move inside of you, Chan said to me. It will work its way through any blocks there may be, and will then begin to talk to your body, guiding it of its own accord, in the ways that it should move in order to express the energy flowing through it. He slapped me on the back between the shoulders and urged me to let go. The first sensation was one of heat. As I connected inwardly with the energy, it was as though the flame of a blowtorch had been ignited. Within me, all obstacles in its path were reduced to ash. My face and body flushed, and I perspired profusely. And then, just as quickly, the blast turned into a dry heat. I felt my skin tingle, and I became excited, effervescent, and firm. A sense of exhilaration thrilled my being, and I was as light as the breeze, filled with boundless energy. Let the energy express itself to you through movement, Chan said to me. All at once my arms rose above my head, elongated and drifted, swaying like flames in the breeze. My spine began to ripple until my whole body was the dancing flame, alive with a glowing energy, which I could perceive physically and within my peripheral vision. Somehow, I was burning without being consumed. As the heat began to rise further within me, it created a sensation of lightheadedness. At one moment, my arms extended, outstretched across the horizontal plane, and undulated like serpents. Eagles eat serpents. Serpent becomes eagle, Chan remarked cryptically. My body responded before my mind could process his words. In one instant, the motion of my arms was transformed into a soaring, gliding, elevating beat in unison. Then my body, overtaken by the sweep of wings, began to circle, and Chan joined in with his magical bird-like hopping. Suddenly I felt a wriggling inside of me, as if some unknown energy was now trying to emerge from a cocoon that was my body. And, before I understood what was happening, I had altered my movements again and was dancing moth. Chan's body seemed instantly to understand my message in movement. He responded with moth movements of awesome power, spontaneity, and grace. I was struck with the impression that never in my life had I experienced a more profound, symbiotic communication. Chan went over to the radio and turned the music on again. A piercing Veracruzana began, and he commenced with a frolicking stomp, which I improvised until I was giddy beyond words and hyperventilating with laughter. At the next song, Don Juan emerged out of the dark passageway, dressed in the solid black he often wore, having just returned from a long walk. Somehow the entire afternoon had passed by without my noticing, and twilight was approaching. I became disoriented, and the music seemed to insist upon my attention. I could swear that I had the feeling of time speeding up, and yet I had no way to account for this perception. The following tune was a chicken scratch, like a wildly twirling Mexican polka, but without words, highly popular at Yaqui and Papago festivities of the region. Before I knew it, Don Juan grabbed me, and we were off. A master of the two-step, a modern version of what Native Americans call bird dancing, he had me spinning within a heartbeat, semicircles, circles, and then full tilt whirls around the patio. He only let go of me when my head began pounding and my heart racing so that I could not draw my breath. I held on to one of the rocking chairs until my composure returned to me and my chest ceased to heave. Don Juan winked at me and gave Chan an eye signal as he left the patio, which evidently meant turn off the music. I collapsed into a chair, and Chan pulled up another beside me. He sat and relaxed with great pleasure, light-hearted, and with a huge smile across his face. "You can get high from dancing," he told me, and laughed. "I'm curious, Chan," I asked him. "Once I had my breath back, do your healing movements originate in dreaming as well?" "Do you mean like my dancing?" he asked, laughing, extending the word dancing to ridiculous lengths, opening his eyes as wide as possible. "Let me put it this way, Chan. All of your moves seem quite original," I told him. "As you have seen, anyone can do it," he replied, smiling. "All that is necessary is to dream energy to the body for a specific purpose and then bridge that energy into the waking world. My specific purpose for this afternoon was sheer pleasure." "Can you give me some examples of dreaming energy to the body?" I asked him. "Sure," he exclaimed. "I'm filled with them. For example," he began, using an exaggeratedly pedantic tone, "let's say that you want to feed an area of your body with extra energy to be used for an extraordinary healing, for either yourself, someone else, or even for both, since there is no reason that a healer should become depleted. You begin by intending energy to that area in dreaming, or perhaps intend the energy to your hands, which will later be placed near the area in question. Next, refine the energy in dreaming. Work with it until it becomes exquisite, exact, and effective. Dream it over and over again. Then bridge the energy into the waking world by performing whatever support tasks you may be shown in dreaming that accompany the energy. I often see some kind of movement associated with the energy in its most refined expression. That movement is usually very slight and concentrated, and consequently very easy to bridge. This signals me that the energy is now efficient, educated if you will, and ready to be used. That's when I bridge it, by performing the signals or support movements. Sometimes, instead of a movement, I generate a feeling from dreaming in order to call the energy. This is also very effective, especially if I direct the feeling towards the specific area in question with my intent. An important point is always to perfect the energy by dreaming and redreaming it before actually applying it in the waking world. This process can be undertaken for the sheer joy of it. One may even dream a dance that generates well-being, freedom of spirit, and power. We must always remember to play. It keeps us from becoming too heavy. This process seems as though it could be very effective for self-healing, as well as for developing healers, I interjected. Absolutely, Chan agreed. It even has applications beyond the scope of healing. Using these practices with the appropriate intent, of course, one may actually collect, concentrate, and refine the ultimate wealth, life force, and purified awareness, and pack them into both the physical and the energy body. Many people focus all of their dreams of a good life on material possessions, entertaining experiences, romance, control, or professional success. They forget entirely about investing their dreams in their own life force and in their own transformations at death. When their number is called, they come up extremely short in that department, I can tell you. Most people are totally unprepared for their last moments on Earth. They waste their sexual and vital energies on babbles that cannot be cashed in at death. They die the way they do because they have run out of life. Juan wants us to speak with you about ultimate experiences and show you where practitioners store their treasures and how they cash them in. You are going to have some intense lessons now, Merlina, and you may see true marvels. Knowing how to store energy in your body by using dreaming is only the beginning. Chan then stood up and reached toward the sky as if drawing energy directly from it. He made semicircular movements with his hands and slowly brought them down to the level of his internal organs. He stroked his sides and said, "Collect, concentrate, purify, and pack." Practice 17. Dreaming energy into the body with magical movements. 1. Focus your dreaming intent upon the area of your body that you wish to energize. Selecting vital areas such as internal organs or bones is best, unless you have disease in a specific area that you wish to focus upon. 2. Intend in dreaming that energy will come to this area in a perceivable manner and allow the process to occur, maintaining your lucidity. 3. Focus now upon refining the frequency by enhancing such ecstatic wave and amplitude. Use the force of your intent to guide and modulate the energy. 4. Fine-tune the energy into the specifically desired area, directing its level of penetration with the force of your intent. 5. Concentrate all of these acts into one cue, a gesture coupled with a powerful intent, which may be bridged into the waking world. Practice these steps in dreaming until the process is smooth and effortless. 6. Bridge the energy by maintaining the dreamed intent while performing the cue in the waking world, in the manner in which it was dreamed. Chapter 18. Sacred Union. I walked out onto the patio the next morning and found it freshly decorated with vases of fragrant white roses and gardenias. No one was about. I knew the gardenias must have been sent from a moister climate, and I couldn't imagine who might have brought them. I paused to take in the mild autumn sunlight and early morning desert breeze. The patio was absolutely immaculate, glistening and solitary. Deciding to linger in the light near the blissful fragrance of the gardenias, I poured myself a cool glass of tamarind lemonade in the kitchen and returned to the patio to sit down in a rocking chair and read. I must have dozed off, because my next memory is of opening my eyes to find that it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Don Juan was standing at the foot of my chair in his khakis and hat, peering into my face. For a moment, as my eyes adjusted to the brighter morning light, I was unable to distinguish between his smiling face and the rising sun immediately behind him. "Let's go across the border to the Gila River today," he suggested. It was a wonderful idea. I smiled dreamily and got my car keys without a word. We went out back and got into the Jeep, accompanied by the same blissful silence and peace. When we arrived at the border checkpoint, the American agent didn't pay any attention at all to the old Indian in the passenger seat. He merely looked into my still dreaming eyes and asked, "What was the purpose of your visit to Mexico, ma'am?" "Oh, I was just shopping," I replied casually. "Go ahead, ma'am, and have a nice day." The agent nodded and waved me on through the checkpoint as Don Juan sighed and reclined with satisfaction in the front seat, pulling his hat down over his face to hide a smile. We drove for a while, east beyond Yuma, until we reached the open desert of the Gila River, which travels southwest and eventually merges with the Colorado. Stepping out of the parked Jeep alongside the banks, I immediately sensed the spirit of the Gila to be quite different from that of the Colorado. While the Colorado River, while the Colorado River has a forceful spirit, even though it has been slowed by dams and has dwindled due to irrigation, the Gila seems more playful. At this point along the river, the water was flowing rapidly, unhindered by man-made trappings, surrounded by bald blue lava mountains to the east and west. The area was a perfect place for our conversation. I pulled 2 straw mats out of the back and handed them to Don Juan, so that he might set them near the river in a comfortable spot. I also brought out a gourd of water and some of the locally dried dates. Placing my hat upon my head, I joined him under the mesquite he had selected. The view from that spot was spectacular. Seated along the southerly bank, with a large saguaro field to our north, we could hear the flow of the Gila in front of us, which sounded like the giggling of a small child, and observe the drift of occasional white clouds and the flight of birds. No sooner that I was seated, an elf owl peeked his tiny head out of a hole at the very top of a large saguaro cactus. The area abounded with jackrabbits, roadrunners, and hawks, all of which darted about on their morning errands. Everyone enjoys the river, Don Juan chuckled as we watched the wildlife scurrying and adjusting to our presence. I thought today might be the perfect day to talk with you about love, he said, taking a large medjool date and savoring a bite of the golden brown flesh. I peered at his twinkling eyes underneath the shadow cast by the brim of his hat. I was hoping we wouldn't leave it out, I said, smiling. No more stories of Melchior Angelo, I hope? He laughed and slapped his thigh. Nope. Your point is well taken. Many teachers and practitioners get so caught up in the acquisition of new powers that they seemingly forget all about love. Yet when and if they are ever fortunate enough for the real thing to present itself in front of their faces, well, I assure you, they are caught just as unprepared as anyone else. I thought I might bring you here and tell you the story of the magical deer in order to illustrate my point. I settled back on the mat so that I might listen to Don Juan with full awareness. Don Juan's mastery of native storytelling was peerless, and his timing and setting were impeccable. It seems there was a young sorceress apprentice, he began, who lived in this desert, abounding with wildlife. He extended his arm in a sweeping gesture all around the horizon. He wished for the power of abundance in order that he might become a wealthy and renowned man, able to attract any girl he might so choose. He came out to this area here on a vision quest for the power and spent night after night in an isolated spot without food or water, supplicating to the forces and spirits that dwell here, crying out his desire and his intent. The first creature to approach him was a mountain lion. On the first night of his quest, the she-cat offered him force and cunning, but this was not what he sought. He said thank you, but would not accept the offer. The next night, as he sat within a circle, crying to the forces, Coyote appeared, offering him sly fearlessness and charisma. The young fellow thought about it, swayed somewhat by Coyote's deceptive charm, but in the end, he said no thank you, and Coyote went on. On the third night, Owl appeared and spoke to him, saying, I can offer you seeing, for I assure you that you do not know what it is that you want. You lack discernment. The young apprentice was stubbornly set in his desire, however, and would not accept. On the fourth night, the young apprentice was beside himself with hunger and thirst, but still stubborn in his resolve. As he lay half delirious within the circle, a vision appeared. There, in front of his eyes, a magical deer shimmered before him. He could tell right off that this was no ordinary creature. It moved with a grace never before seen, and its luminosity. Don Juan paused a moment for dramatic effect. Yet there was something elusive about the creature, he continued, as if its powers could not be possessed. Still, it stood there, fully tangible. That made the young apprentice want the beautiful apparition all the more. She spoke to him in a liquid female voice. "I have heard your cries and have taken pity on you," she told him. "I can give you a taste of that power you seek, that which is most valuable in creation. But once you have tried it, nothing else will compare to it, and you will be fated to seek it always and everywhere." The young man salivated with the thought of the most valuable power. Surely through it, he would become the wealthiest and most powerful among men. "I accept," he said without hesitation. The magical deer nodded, and suddenly the young man saw that she was transforming into something so beautiful, so inconceivable, that even his eyes were overtaken with the inability to express it. He felt touched down to the very core of his being, and began to weep, covering his face in shame. "Why do you hide your eyes from that which you wish?" she asked him. Even her voice was transformed. "Is this not what you want?" So he uncovered his face and looked upon a creature, the likes of which he had never seen. He felt such a love that he could not explain. A love almost beyond the bounds of the desire for the power he sought. Surely the gift of this being was going to be miraculous. And then she vanished. "What?" I said, raising up to prop myself on my elbows. "She left him," Don Juan repeated. There was silence. Even the river was hushed for a moment. I thought about his tale, pondering in the silence and in the breeze all that he had said to me. "So her gift was transformation," I said. "And the love that he felt?" Don Juan added. "Did he ever see her again?" I asked him. "One would hope so," he replied. "We cannot know that. All we can know is that he searched for her always and everywhere, even to the end of his life, even beyond death." There was a passion in Don Juan's voice that had brought tears to my eyes and caused my throat to clench. I was trembling and on the verge of a full-blown sobs. "Have you ever known a feeling like that?" I asked him. "I have," he replied, looking fully into my eyes. I grasped the ground as I felt my breath leap out of me. "You needn't worry," he said. But I was worried, and I didn't know why. I felt so agitated that I thought I might explode into molecules and particles at any moment. Don Juan took off his hat, smoothed his hair, and turned my face toward his, putting his finger under my chin. He looked at me for a long moment, looking so calmly into my eyes, and then gently leaned forward, touching the crown of his forehead with my own. In that moment, I felt the most incredible, indescribable feeling of peace and love, beyond anything I have ever felt. Everything vanished, and beneath my closed lids, we and all around us were one, and filled with golden white light. Practice 18. Merging meditation. 1. This is a beautiful practice used by shifters to become one with the object of their intent. It may be used by lovers or friends also, to become one with one another. 2. Begin by being seated at arm's length, directly across from one another. Empty the mind of all thoughts and breath from the belly. And breathe from the belly, expanding the abdomen in a relaxed manner on the inhale. 3. Gaze profoundly and with a silent mind into one another's eyes. Allow yourself to be filled with the other, completely emptying of yourself. Don't judge, fear, or cling in any way. 4. At a given moment, make room for the other within you. Do this by gently extending your right arm forward. This says to the other energetically, I make room for you within me. 5. Gently retract the arm and place it at your side. This says energetically to your partner, I make room for me within you. 6. The partner responds by doing the same movements at the appropriate moment. Note, this practice will often bring up overwhelming feelings and the eyes may fill with tears. The tears cleanse the window of the eyes. Do not allow yourself to break down and indulge in sobs. In order to hold energy, the vessel must not be cracked. Simply stay with the flood of feelings and breathe. Gaze through the tears. 7. The effect of this practice is so profound that it may synchronize your brainwaves. You may notice minor telltale signs afterwards, such as slight identical movements shared between you, perhaps even performed at the same moment. Chapter 19. The Unicorn. Juan and Doña Celestina came into the kitchen the following morning while I was helping myself to huevos rancheros, free-range eggs served on freshly made corn tortillas, smothered in green chili and tomatillo sauce. Juan poured himself a cup of hot coffee and sat down with me at the table. Doña Celestina inspected my cooking approvingly, prepared 2 eggs for herself, and then joined us. I was surprised to encounter both of them together, especially since they each had a mood of expectation, signaling me that I was to give them my undivided attention after breakfast. We want to talk with you about the 4 energetic compartments of a balanced energy being, Juan began, sensing my curiosity. Don't worry, we're not going to fight over you. He giggled and gave Doña Celestina a wink, having put words to my unspoken thoughts. Actually, it will take all 3 of us to explain them properly to you, so Juan will be joining us later. For now, enjoy your breakfast, and when you feel that the time is right, come out to the little healing room that I have set up in the back. I nodded my assent and continued with my meal. Juan took his coffee and walked out onto the patio. Doña Celestina remained with me at the table and ate her breakfast in silence. I could tell by the expression in her eyes that she was extremely pleased by something. Their bright, mischievous twinkle was the only indication, however, in her otherwise forceful presence. I never ceased to marvel at the sheer strength of her. After washing the dishes and tidying up the kitchen, I walked back to my room and spent some time writing in my journal. Writing helped me not only to consolidate their lessons, but also to empty myself of the feelings associated with them so that I could be clear for the next step of the new work, whatever that might be. Doña Celestina reminded me continually that a woman is at her most powerful when she is silent and empty. And Don Juan often added that it is this same state that lends a warrior the necessary sobriety and dispassion to come through and to fulfill effectively whatever tasks fate may place along the path. With these thoughts in mind, when the time was right, I walked back to the healing room where all three of them were waiting for me. When I peered into the door of the room, I saw that it was furnished only with 4 straight-back chairs, 3 of which were occupied. Everyone rose to greet me. "Let's get to work," Don Juan said enthusiastically. They clustered around me, and each person in turn slapped me between the shoulder blades at a different spot on my back. Don Juan pulled my chair towards me so that I might be seated, and they each seated themselves. Everyone held my gaze, and then Chan began to speak. "It should be no surprise to you that each of us has put a portion of our own energy into you," Chan said, looking at me directly. "You've had 3 teachers and 3 benefactors, and each of us has addressed a different area of your energy body, assigning you tasks and filling you with the knowledge proper to the respective domains. Our intent has been to create stability in you, and we feel that we've succeeded." Doña Celestina continued, "A powerful structure must be balanced, or it will topple over. 4 is the number of stability, and 4 is the number of energetic compartments within a fully actualized energy being." Don Juan spoke next. "Every human being is born with the capacity for 4 energetic compartments, but few individuals realize their activation. In order to journey the length of this path, all 4 compartments must be operative and must receive the knowledge proper to each." At this point, they all waited to see if I had questions. I felt that I had none, and so they proceeded further. "You might say that each of us, or rather the knowledge we have imparted to you, pertains to a different energetic compartment," Doña Celestina said. "We have actually put points of knowledge and awareness within you that we have assembled ourselves, or have assembled with the help of our own teachers," Chan added. "In that sense, there is great continuity to what we have done." Don Juan then asked me to open my palm. I did so, and he drew a small sign upon it with the tip of his index finger. The symbol was rather like a 4-petaled flower, with another identical to the first, superimposed upon it. A small round opening was centrally located within them both. "These are the 4 compartments of the physical body," he said, tapping the first 4 petals. "The next 4 are the compartments of the energy body. When fully developed, they are identical to the first 4, and yet more evolved. The opening is into the creation void," he said. "This is the configuration of an actualized human being." Everything they were saying seemed perfectly clear to me. I could see how each of them was an archetype of one of the 4 compartments, and also how each of my mentors had the 4 compartments operating within them. I nodded my understanding, and they went on. "In order for the energy body to be able to accelerate properly at the moment of death, in order for it to be able to spin on balance and not lose momentum, in order for the energy not to topple or gyrate in an undesirable direction or go cold, the 4 petals need not only to be activated, but also to be developed in a balanced manner. Each compartment able to wield more or less the same amount of force, each able to work with the others, and each approximately the same size. If you visualize a broken propeller, you will easily see what I mean," Chan told me. I adjusted my awareness, for the lesson had now taken on quite a serious and final kind of tone. I focused upon listening fully in silence. "We feel that you are balanced, and when the time comes, you will be able to move into the realms of energy that are not of this earth," Doña Celestina said. That comment jolted me. "Juan is ready, and so he is going to take you with him part of the way, if you agree, Chan stated plainly, staring into my eyes. Now I was flooded with thoughts and perceptions, queries, emotions, and even fears. I looked at Don Juan, who raised his brows slightly, as if to reiterate Chan's question. Just as we have given you a piece of ourselves, so have we also taken a piece of you. It is as simple as that, Don Juan said to me. We will always be connected, and yet we are free. It is an even trade. Because of this, Chan went on. Wherever we journey, the others may learn and prepare. Someone is always preparing the way, because a portion of each of us is with the other. Do you agree to this? Something other than my normal daily awareness heard every word spoken to me and answered the query clearly, simply, and with sober intent. I do, I said. With that, a force was forged. They asked me to rise from my seat, and each of them did so in turn. Doña Celestina stood to my right front, Don Juan to my right back, Chan to my left back, and nothingness to my left front. This is the configuration, Doña Celestina said. In this way, we are balanced warriors. To your front is water. To your back, fire. To the right of you, you're masculine. To the left, you're feminine. To the right is force. To the left is suppleness. To the right is power and action. To the left, silence and emptiness. In the center is your longevity and your balance, your wisdom and your way. She touched the identical place at the crown of my forehead that Don Juan had touched with his own the day before. The tip of her right index finger rested there and then spiraled gracefully in a counterclockwise direction. Then she, Don Juan, and Chan all simultaneously clapped their hands once loudly, as if to catch some ineffable something flying through the air. And I felt as though I had awakened from a dream. Don Juan patted me gently on the back. Let's go get some lemonade, he suggested. We can talk a little more after a few moments. A bit of a break did me quite a lot of good. Chan and Doña Celestina went about their business, while Don Juan and I enjoyed a tall glass of hibiscus lemonade on the patio. This day was just as beautiful as the one before had been. The temperature was now becoming spring-like every day, with cloudless or near cloudless skies and a mild breeze. And the climate would remain so until April, when the temperatures would again begin to rise towards their fiery climax in the months of July and August. I relaxed and put my head back against the rocking chair. This was the first time my body had really registered how much information and energy was surging through it, and I relished the time just to be. After a few moments, though, I had a question. What is going on with this spot at the top of my forehead, Don Juan? All of you seem to be paying attention to it now, and it was never even addressed before. Don Juan smiled. What is happening is that your rattle is emerging from that spot. Just keep on doing all of the variations of fire breath that you have been taught. The serpent is lengthening. A practitioner who can see will be able to discern the energy emerging from there. Remember that the serpent is your wisdom and longevity. The more you cultivate it, the more the energy will protrude. Advanced practitioners often wear head rags or scarves to hold the energy there, as it becomes quite long with age and practice. Despite what you may think, you could live to be quite old, Merlina. I thought about his words for a moment, and then shared an insight with him. In the mythology of several ancient cultures, there was a creature called a unicorn. This being had a horn that emerged from the spot to which you are referring. It could not be touched, since the horn was the sexual and creative potential of a magical being. This horn represented purity, and the unicorn could be either male or female gender. Yet somehow it was both, Don Juan added, although I knew he had never heard of the creature. Yes, Don Juan, that's right. Yet somehow it was both, I repeated. And did they also have stories of the luminous cocoon of man? He asked me. No, Don Juan, I don't believe they did, I answered him. That's too bad, he lamented, for therein lies the mystery, you see. Once the rattle, the horn, or antenna starts to emerge, the luminous transformation is not far behind. Just like the cocoons of Doña Celestina's moths, which you have observed with your own eyes, so is the luminous cocoon of man. Being human can become a prison riddled with worms, a dried out hollow shell of dust, or it may be an emergence into a world of energetic transformation that is something far beyond words, wonderful, inconceivable, vastly exceeding even our wildest imaginations. Practice 19. Balancing the 4 energetic compartments. 1. Set up the dreaming intent to ascertain the condition of your 4 energetic compartments. You might, for example, dream of encountering a stove with 4 burners. What is the condition of each of the burners? Are any missing, disabled, covered, or clogged? What is the condition of the stove in general and of the place where it is found? 2. Attempt to cleanse your compartments. Make any repairs that are necessary. See if you can discover the location of any that are missing. 3. Attempt to activate the compartments in dreaming. If, for example, they are the burners of a stove, see if they can be ignited. Do not force anything. Simply see which compartments will activate and which will not. Ask your energy body for discernment as to any problems you may encounter. 4. Bridge dreaming in ritual onto your mesa. Clear the mesa entirely, storing your implements of sexual energy in a safe and sacred place. Accompany this clearing with recapitulation of all the sexual energies represented, and of any revelations you may have encountered in your dreaming regarding your energetic compartments. The result should be silence and emptiness. 5. Select 4 candles to represent the 4 compartments and place them on the mesa, either in the form of a medicine wheel, a perfect circle twice bisected by lines that divide into 4 equal quarters, making the form of a cross. Thus, the 4 candles would be placed north, south, east, and west, or in the shape of burners on a stove. 6. Ignite each of the 4 candles in the order your energy body guides you to use. This in itself will tell you a great deal. If you feel that one of the candles should not be illuminated, remove it from the mesa and place a small bowl of water filled with a few flower blossoms in its place. 7. Re-enter dreaming the next night and examine the 4 compartments again. Perhaps you will dream of them as 4 separate and adjoining gardens. Are the gateways between the gardens open or blocked? What is the condition of each garden, and what is its nature? 8. Bridge your dreaming onto the mesa and work with the candles and water again. This time, place 4 bowls of water with flowers to represent the 4 compartments on the working area of the mesa. If any area does not feel cleansed, if the water does not respond to it, substitute the corresponding candle in its place and ignite the flame. 9. The goal is to be able to work in groups of solid 4s, or in pairs of 2 and 2. In other words, at full force, and to have this mirrored by your dreaming, which must confirm that all of the perceptions you are having in your meso work are accurate and balanced.